there's been buzz that Derek Carr may be headed to the New Orleans Saints, and I want to talk about that, man. I think this would be such a great pickup for a team like the Saints, a team who has great set of weapons: Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, Jarvis Landry, Alvin Kamara. Not to mention guys like Rashid Shaheed, who has very, very, very high upside, at least in my opinion. Among some other guys, right? In my opinion, the Saints are a quarterback away, and I think this is a good fit because you also have a really, really good offensive line. In my opinion, Trevor Penning is going to be a top 7 or 8 tackle by the end of next year, prediction that I have, based off of his tape, right? I watched Penning against the Panthers start. He was obviously that 6th offensive lineman the few weeks before after he came back from his injury. But Penning against the Panthers looked really, really, really good. And in my opinion, Derek Carr being able to be protected by a good set of tackles goes a long way. All right, Penning at left tackle, Ryan Ramczyk at right tackle. That's the way to win. Protect Derek Carr, protect any quarterback, and let him find his guys. The Saints trading for Derek Carr would be an absolute perfect. Now, the question will be, how do you get Derek Carr? February 15th is literally 12 days away, and that is the hard deadline that Derek Carr is sticking with and saying Raiders must trade me or they must cut me by that date. And the Raiders will have to make a decision, right? If they're not able to find a trade partner, are they going to actually cut him? Because there's also an alternative scenario in which the Raiders don't cut Derek Carr. They let that February 15th date come. And once that day comes, they're going to just stick with Derek Carr and say, if you want him, you'll have to negotiate and you'll have to take some of his dead cap, right? $40 million becomes guaranteed after February 15th. Plus, the Raiders got to think about it, right? Is a first-round pick worth more, or arguably a first and a second or whatever you get for Derek? Is that worth more than $40 million, right? You got to look at the trade-offs here. And you got to realize at the same time, if you're the Raiders, if Derek Carr is truly going to bring that type of value, right? Here's the thing. Derek Carr may not have that same value for a team like the Commanders, who really aren't ready to compete for a Super Bowl. But for a team like the Saints, it's different. The Saints are Super Bowl contenders with Derek Carr. Your defense is too good, right? Cameron Jordan, Marcus Davenport are really, really good defensive ends. But I think Peyton Turner is going to be even better than both of those guys, right? And I shouldn't say he's better than Cameron Jordan because Cameron Jordan is a top 5 to 7 edge player. But I do think Peyton Turner has the upside to be better. I think Peyton Turner has superstar potential. And I know it hasn't panned out yet. Injuries have kind of slowed him down a little bit. But the guy's quick. He's explosive. Great pass rush technique. Great size. I think all of those combined together is going to allow him to start having more success. And that's just on the defensive line, right? You look at guys like Pete Werner, who has, I think he came on strong this past year, but I don't think a lot of people know who he is even yet. Then you got Demario Davis. You got guys on the back end like Tyrann Mathieu and Marshone Lattimore, Marcus May, among some other guys on the back end that I think have a lot of upside. For me, all of that benefits a guy like Derek Carr, right? Derek Carr needs to be protected and have a group of weapons and have a defense, and any quarterback, right, to have success, and the Saints have it. Plus, for me, what is one first-round pick if you compete for the Super Bowl for the next 3 to 4 years, right? Does one pick really matter that much? Now, obviously, in my opinion, I think this is a great fit for all parties. The Raiders get their draft value. The Saints get a quarterback. Derek Carr goes to a team competing for the Super Bowl. It's just a win-win situation. Now, obviously, the big question will be the $60 million negative $60 million, I should say, in cap space, right? The Saints are going to have to control this, get this under the cap. And here's the thing, right? We saw this last year as well, right? The Saints had like $74 million over the cap. And this year, they're $60 million. And they're going to have to just continue this trend for a number of years because Derek Carr's contract, assuming he gets traded, is $34 million against the cap this year. So they're basically looking at $95 million over the cap if you bring in Derek. Obviously, there's not a lot of players to cut to really get under that $60 million, right? You guys can just look at the cap savings across the board here. Not a lot of players to cut. Maybe James Hurst or Will Lutz gets you about 7 million, but you don't want to cut guys like that are core pieces to potentially depth or starters. You don't want to get rid of these guys, right? Because those are the guys that help you win when guys get hurt, right? Or at least help step in. Um, but what the Saints are going to end up doing is they're going to create these void years. If you guys look at Cameron Jordan's contract, um, we're about to enter the 2023 season. He's going to get paid $25 million this year. And yet he has 3 void years, which means there's 3 years that he'll be incurring cap hits that he will not be here. Right? Next year, he's going to count $12.7 million against the cap. And they had to do this with the number of players to get under the cap, and they'll have to do this again this year. With a lot of their guys, they'll have to push cap hits into future years. For me, it sucks for the Saints to do this, but I think it would be wise for the Saints to just go all in once again, retool, reload, and go all in with Derek Carr. I think Carr to the Saints makes a lot of sense. Now, obviously, we don't know if what Jeremy Fowler is reporting is correct, but he is reporting that there's buzz, that the Saints are interested in Derek Carr. Now, the big thing will obviously be how do they get him? How do they get him paid? What kind of restructuring do they do to his contract? Either way, man, I think this is a great fit. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. Thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time with another video.